just one small thing. When we're meditating, of course, we're not exactly in the mood of Yaśodā Dāmodar. Some of us may be, but still there's some lessons that could be learned from that I always appreciated. Our ācāryas have explained that even though Mādhyaśodā, went to great lengths to, literally lengths, to collect ropes and ropes and ropes to try to bind Kṛṣṇa to the grinding mortar, again and again she was 2 inches too short. And that 2 inches, they explain that it refers to 2 fingers too short. The finger, which is the shorter finger, which is the first finger, in certain respects, at least. You can say Kṛṣṇa's mercy is always the first finger, but he wants to see the extra endeavor. So, going the extra mile, so to speak. And that's supposed to convince him to, do the second finger of special, reciprocal mercy, reciprocating with our extra endeavor. But it's interesting that Mādhyaśodā, no matter how much extra endeavor she was making, it wasn't happening. She was collecting ropes and ropes and ropes. And still, again and again and again, Kṛṣṇa wanted to see the extra endeavor. And then again she was collecting ropes, and again collecting ropes. So it was like that first finger, to what extent does that first finger have to go? How extra does extra have to be before extra can be considered extra enough to be actually extra endeavor? However, it's interesting to mark that after she became exasperated in her attempt to collect all the ropes, and she collected all the ropes that she had in her own house, but then what did she do? She got her friends. In other words, she engaged her friends in helping her in her attempt to somehow or other bind Lord Kṛṣṇa. So they started bringing ropes and ropes from their houses. And it was actually only at that point when she did the para upakara, or at least gave up hers is transcendental egocentricity, but the principle is useful for us in that we can try and try and try and try and try on our own. That's kind of like, Nirjan, japa jagya. Kṛṣṇa says, japa jagya jagyosmi in Bhagavad Gita. But there's something more than that he wants to see. And that's what was exemplified by Mādhyaśoda's intelligently engaging her friends in bringing extra ropes and extra ropes, to increase the volume of extra endeavor. So that is what is Sankirtan. Sankirtan means the volume, a louder voice, you can say, to get Kṛṣṇa's attention. By, with a little help from our friends. And that's what it's really all about. It's not a independent angel show, so to speak, one-man show. Sankirtan is, at least this is what I'm beginning to understand a little more in the course of my endeavor to act as an instrument on behalf of the predecessor ācāryas to whatever extent I'm able. But what I'm understanding more and more, and it has a lot to do with the fact that Kṛṣṇa has mercifully broken my voice down so that I can't stand on my own anymore. So he's forced me into the position of realizing that I need all the help I can get. I'm not going to make it back to Godhead. I seriously doubt that I'm going to get Kṛṣṇa Prema without, all the help I can get from anyone and everyone I can get it from. And I'm praying to all of you that somehow or other, with all of your, kindness and well-wishing and special causeless mercy upon this wretched fallen soul, that somehow or other I'll be able to actually attain the goal of my life of being able to eternally serve Radha in Brajadam. At least I have the audacity to say that that's what I want. I remember Vishnu Jan Maharaj, every time I say something like that, or every time I hear someone else say, I want to, but, or I want to. One time Vishnu Jan Maharaj requested me, because he needed a pujari for Yaśodā Dāmodar, and he requested me because he knew that I was at the Q Street Temple in Washington at that time, taking care of the big Gornatai deities there. And maybe we had shifted to Potomac already. Yeah, he came through in Potomac also, and I think it was then when he was actually making a serious push to get me to come and be Yaśodā Dāmodar's pujari. But at that time, I was deep into the vanity of being one of Srila Prabhupada's frontline book distributors. And I had done that for about 8 years. And so I wanted to continue with my book distribution, and I'd heard from various sources that being the pujari on one of the buses meant, that I'd have to wake the deities in the morning. I'd have to, bathe and dress the deities. I'd have to do 7 artiks. I'd have to, prepare at least 3 fruit offerings. I wouldn't have to be the cook, but I'd have to prepare the fruit offerings. And then I would have to, dress the deities and put them to rest at night also. So that was kind of quite a platter full. And I was thinking, how am I going to be able to continue with my book distribution effort to serve that aspect of Srila Prabhupada's mission? If I agree to come on to become Yaśodā Dāmodar's pujari. So I told Vishnu Jan Maharaj, I said, yeah, Maharaj, I want to, but, I want to, right? I want to, but, is it going to interfere with my book distribution effort? I said like that. And then he just I thought it was such a remarkable and intelligent reply, and I really appreciated it, and it's stuck with me for the rest of my life practically, and had such an impact on me. And he just kind of quipped back at me, but mildly chiding me, saying, Aindra, never say you want to do something. He said, because if you say you want to do something, it means you really don't want to do it, Because if you really wanted to do it, you'd be doing it. And I thought that was great. You never say you want to do something, oh yeah, well, I want to go back to Godhead, but, what about my, various material attachments, my various egoisms, my egocentricity, my inability to recognize the need to get all the help I can get, So we have to help each other. We're all like little mini Mādhyaśodas trying to bind Lord Kṛṣṇa. And we have to recognize, that what we really need is to get together, maybe more often like we're doing now, and or come to the temple, in Radhashyam's presence. And I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, at least a little bit every day. I can't do what I used to do because Krishna's taken it away to force me into submission, But at least, I can come down and demonstrate I want to, but practically, don't say you want to go back to Godhead. If you really wanted to go back to Godhead, you'd be going back to Godhead. And that this is the way to do it. This is the way which is prescribed by all of our ācāryas. Jagyai sankirtana prayar yajanti hi sumedhasaha. And practically speaking, in Kali Yuga, all the ācāryas, Vishwanath, Jiva Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and even our Srila Prabhupada. It's not that our Srila Prabhupada came to change the law. He came to fulfill the law, more or less. And that is the most recommended process in this age of Kali, most recommended, or the most powerful, the most important, at least in certain respects, although our book distribution is certainly important, but ultimately, the whole thing is about Nam. So the most important anga of all the 9 processes of devotional service, of all the 64 processes of devotional service, of which, Panchanga Bhakti stands out, as the superlative aspects of the devotional, Bhakti Yoga. Of all these processes of devotional service, Kirtan, among the 9 processes, Kirtan is considered to be supreme and most efficacious. And among the different kinds of Kirtan, because there's Nam Kirtan, there's Rupa Kirtan, there's Guna Kirtan, there's Lila Kirtan. What to speak of philosophy? So out of all the varieties of Kirtan, it's clearly established by all of our ācāryas that Nam Kirtan is supreme. But there's something more supreme than that, and that is Nam Sankirtan. And there's something more supreme than that. That is Samyak Kirtan, Prema Nam Sankirtan, but it's described Maha Harinam Sankirtan. Maha Harinam Sankirtan. Sankirtan is when there's 2 or more. I'm not in Vaikuntha. I'm not in the hearts of the yogis. I'm where 2 or more individuals are singing my glories. That Kṛṣṇa says. So 2 or more constitutes Sangha Kirtan. Or even Samyak Kirtan means complete Kirtan based on Sambandha Tattva Gyan, Abhideya Tattva Gyan, Prayojan Tattva Gyan, where there's a clear, understanding of the goal and a serious, sincere meaning the endeavor to please Kṛṣṇa. Anyabhilasi Tashunyam, we were hearing Burijan was saying this morning, Anukulena Kṛṣṇanuṣīlanam, taking up favorable means by which we can hope to get Krishna's attention. But this is the most favorable means, is to come together, in in the endeavor to help each other attain the goal of life, which is Krishna Prema. So that we're actually making, at least going in that direction. Anukulina Krishnanushilanam is basically the same principle as Krishna Indriya Priti Ishta Dare Premanam. Krishna Indriya Priti Ishta. Ishta means desire. Priti means to give pleasure, to satisfy. To love means to please the beloved. So Krishna Indriya, to satisfy the senses of Krishna, to have the desire to satisfy the senses of Krishna. And it's just a question of how much you have that desire. Some people will have it more, some people will have it less. Some people will have a more intense, form of that desire. And thus you go up through the different mellows of devotional service from Shanta Ras to Madhurya Ras. Like that. So there's greater and greater degrees of intensity. And in our lowly condition, there's also consideration of degrees of intensity or depth, you can say, of our desire to satisfy the senses of Krishna. And that's what we're supposed to be getting, as soon as we walk into the doors of this Krishna consciousness movement, as soon as we walk through the doors of this Krishna consciousness movement, from the very beginning of our training and devotional service, we're supposed to be trained about this point, that all of our activities should be aimed at satisfying Guru and Krishna. And by doing that, by just simply embracing that principle, trying to find out, what is anukul, bhajan, what is pratikul, pratikulasya varjanam, giving up those things which are antagonistic to the cultivation of Uttama Bhakti. Like that. So that is called as Samyak Kirtan. Complete Kirtan. Complete Kirtan, the completest complete Kirtan is when many devotees are together who are on the same page. You're not having to drag people along, who are here for some, ego gratification or, to exploit the situation for, some profit, adoration, distinction, or whatever it may be. So it's necessary for all of us to become acquainted with the philosophy of Krishna consciousness so that we can all be on the same page, at least basically on the same page. In Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan Leelas, there were different devotees who were relishing different rasas, even while dancing in the same Sankirtan performance. And Lord Chaitanya was reciprocating with all of them, just like even some example is there in the, I think it's Krishna Bhavanamrita. There's a description of how the cowherd boys, at the end of the day, either as Bhavanamrita or as I don't know, forgive me for my forgetfulness. It may be in Under Vrindavan Champu, somewhere in one of these books I remember reading how the cowherd boys, after Krishna comes back from, his pastimes with Radharani and the Sakhis at Radhakund, after the Surya Puja, he appears, as a Brahmin to perform the Surya Puja for Radharani, and Jatila, unknowingly, enlist Krishna as the priest for the sacrifice, and Krishna refuses to accept the reward and all that, So then, when Radharani is taken by Jatila and all the Sakhis, they go back to Yavat. And then there's, Krishna goes back to the pasture to meet up with the cowherd boys and gather the cows for bringing them back, to Braja, to Nandagram. But before they hit the road, so to speak, back to Nandagram, the cowherd boys have fun dressing Kṛṣṇa, according to their own individual taste. And Kṛṣṇa expands to be with each cowherd boy without the other cowherd boys seeing, just like the gopis when they were dancing in Rasa Leela, a Swayam Prakash manifestation of Kṛṣṇa, expanded to be with each gopi. And none of the other gopis could see that, Kṛṣṇa was with all the other gopis because they were thinking that Kṛṣṇa was with them and reciprocating their loving services, So similarly, the cowherd boys, they would dress Kṛṣṇa according to their own desire to see Kṛṣṇa in a particular way. So then, when it's time to go back home, all the Swayam Prakash features, they merge into the original Swayam Rup Kṛṣṇa, and all the cowherd boys and the cows and cows, I guess it is at that time, they're all coming back home. But each cowherd boy is seeing Kṛṣṇa to be dressed exactly the way he personally dressed him. To now talk about inconceivable potency, Kṛṣṇa's Achintya Shakti is so fantastic that each devotee, even though he's a singular personality as Swayam Rup Kṛṣṇa, the cowherd boys are seeing him because he's Bhavagrahi Janardana. The cowherd boys are seeing, he's reciprocating with them individually. So similarly in Lord Chaitanya's Leelas, in the dancing and chanting in Nam Sankirtan, different devotees are having different bhavas. And Lord Chaitanya is reciprocating with them variously. All simultaneously, not, being noticed by the others, how that is happening. Even in the Puri Leelas, during Jagannath Rath Yatra, Lord Chaitanya was expanding into 7 different forms in the Beta Kirtans, was expanding into 7 different forms to dance in each of the different kirtan groups. And of course, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Maharaj Prataparudra, from the roof of the palace, they were seeing, this amazing feat of Lord Chaitanya is expanding. Someone might say, because actually Krishnadas Kaviraj says, how fortunate they are to be able to see that. But really, who is more fortunate? Those who are thinking that Lord Chaitanya is with us, dancing with us. How fortunate we are that he's come to dance with us. So similarly, Giridhari and I were listening to Vrindavan Mahimamrita while we were doing my Thakurji's puja, Seva puja, and we were hearing how in one kunja, Radha and Kṛṣṇa are embracing. And in another kunja, Radha and Kṛṣṇa are playing dice. And another kunja, Radha and Kṛṣṇa, are feeling intense separation. There's 4 kinds of separation described, so sometimes this prema vaichitya manifests where even though they're together, they experience intense separation from each other. And another kunja, Radha and Kṛṣṇa are deeply immersed in their prem keli, and this is all going on simultaneously. And then in another verse, Prabodhananda Saraswati is saying, why are you worrying? Because I mean, I read in one of the Puranas, I forget which Purana it was. Maybe it was Gargasami. I can't remember. I have a Kali Yuga memory like a sieve. So, but I love to read these books, but I can't commit them all to like a photographic memory. It just doesn't work for me. That's why Vyasadeva and others wrote down books so that we can use them as reference material when we need to, because we forget. But anyway, I was reading an incredible description of Golok Dham, where there's these three demigods somehow got the Adhikar to enter into the Golok planet to have let's say a guided tour of Golok, And then they describe in great detail, incredible, I can't even begin to express it, but there's so many there's like huge mountains which are bordering the Golok region. And on top of these mountains, there are like innumerable cowherd boys standing there with sticks, guarding. There are no Vishnu Dutas, with forearms, as gatekeepers of Vaikuntha or something like that. They're cowherd boys standing guard to protect their Kṛṣṇa, their friend. Just like Mādhyaśodā, would tell the older boys to carry their bows and arrows. They would carry bows and arrows and swords and lathis to ward off the demons, so that no one would come and harm, Mādhyaśoda's baby boy, Kṛṣṇa. And they also, the older boys have that Vatsalya bhav mixed in there. There's Vatsalya, Sakya that gives rise to Vatsalya, and there's Sakya which gives rise to Madhurya. And there's more or less ordinary Sakya also. But, so some of these older boys, there were like millions of them, innumerable, guarding the Golok region. And it's describing how the mountains are like covered with Kalpavriksha trees, all made with jewels. And, it's like the whole realm is like describing jewel this and jewel that and jewel this. And, it's like unlimited opulence, as if it was, and obviously even it's described that the realm of Braja is the supremely opulent realm, even more opulent than Vaikuntha. But all that opulence is overshadowed by that prema madhurya of Kṛṣṇa and the reciprocation, between Kṛṣṇa and his madhurya premika bhaktas, in all the different Braja rasas. So, but then it describes how there's after you get past the mountains, then you go down into the pasture grounds of Vrindavan, and in the forest regions, and there's like unlimited millions and millions of palatial buildings, which are, all made of varieties of jewels and jewels and jewels and jewels. It's like incredible. I can't even begin to. We'll have to sit down and read it maybe someday. To actually, get the feel of where that's at by hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, instead of having me try to regurgitate it, because I can't do justice to it. But all these millions and millions of palaces of all the gopas and gopis, and then there's millions and millions of palaces of Radharani's, Priya Sakis, and then there's the palaces of the Parampreshta Sakis, the Asta Sakis, and then finally you get to Radharani's palace, which is like the most supremely opulent palace out of all of them. Incredible opulent palace of Srimati Radharani. And then it goes further. Behind Radharani's palace, are all the palaces and kunjas of all the manjaris. All of Radharani's manjari maidservants also have all their kunjas and palaces, and there are innumerable. It's the way it's described, it just makes you think, we don't have to stand the fighting chance, Are we going to have to, take a number at the gate or something, and when our number is called, finally we'll get an opportunity to offer our garland after it's long wilted, standing in line, with 1 million sakhis in front of us, 1 million maidservants. But no, Prabodhananda Saraswati says, he says that, why are you worrying? He says, don't you know there's a Radha and Kṛṣṇa in every kunja? There's a Radha and Kṛṣṇa in every kunja. Just like here in this Vrindavan, you'll all have Radha and Kṛṣṇa. That's what you want. Otherwise you can have Krishna Balaram. But mind you, Srila Prabhupada did suggest that even those who have a tendency or have an inclination toward the Sakya-ras, that the best is if they can follow Subal. Subal Sakha can also get Mahabhav. And the followers of Subal, just like in Ujjvala Nilamani, it describes that Subal, after Radha and Krishna's Prem Keli, he's inside the Nikunja cottage while Radha and Krishna are there on the play bed, and there's sweat drops on them from their ferocious love battle. So here's Subal Sakha fanning them, standing there, fanning them to cool them, to evaporate the sweat from their bodies, to give them comfort. Of course, he's doing it from the angle of vision of pleasing his Krishna, his friend, Krishna. But he's so intimate. And it is said there in that verse that what service can Subal Sakha not perform? What can he not do? Practically speaking, he's virtually on the same level as the manjaris, at least in certain respects, as a Priyanarma Sakha. So there are multifarious opportunities. Is the prasadam ready? Oh, sorry. Mahaprasada Govindik. Nama. Hare Krishna. Anyway, whatever. So let's help each other get there. All right? Radhe, Radhe. Enough's enough. Hare Krishna. Aindra Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai. Shri Nitai Satchisuta ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai.